Alright guys, welcome back for another video on Kuroko's Basketball, and today we will be talking about Zone Murasakibara, who's the latest premium character to be added, and I will also do a bit of something on the Generation Miracle banner with you guys as well. But before that, it's the weekend, so we're going to have another brand new gift code. So if we go into the benefit section and let's redeem this gift code together, the gift code is going to be KBSR260411, and I believe once again it's only going to be valid for this weekend. So let's redeem that, one Generation Miracle, and also some notebooks. And now let's talk about the latest banners, which obviously includes Murasakibara, but also they have added another banner, which is a Grand Miracle Gacha. And this one right now, we are going to see Zone Kagami and also SP Kuroko, and eventually in the future, all of the other Zone Generation Miracle characters would also be here. And you can see here, the pity is actually going to be shared, but they have their own progression rewards, okay? So you can see here, the pity right now is 1 out of 120, and it's also going to be 1 out of 120 for the Zone Murasakibara banner as well. Now, this is going to be separate to Generation Miracle. So Generation Miracle is only going to have, obviously, the Generation Miracle characters plus on Crown King, whereas all of the Zone or SP character will be here. And in the future, there will also be a third standard pool, which is going to be the last game characters. Now, Zone Murasakibara is the newest addition to the game, and this was different to the Chinese server. So previously, I did make a banner prediction, I guess, based on the Chinese server, and Ursa has proof right now, no, Global doesn't follow the Chinese server either. It does, I guess, in some sense, still in line with the Chinese server in the sense that Zone Kagami and SP Kuroko are considered as zone characters rather than the standard banner Generation Miracle characters, which was the case on JP. So I guess you could say it still follows kind of the mechanics on the Chinese server, but at least from the character timeline point of view, it seems like it's going to be completely different. Okay, so the banner prediction I made previously is obviously not going to be accurate. So you can take that with a pinch of salt just to see what would be the future characters, but don't pay too much attention to the timelines themselves. Now, something a lot of people have asked me is that how to effectively build up pity to maximize the rewards here. Now, the fact that we have a second standard banner here, I think the best way to build up your pity is that you don't want to go 120 on a character here, because if you want to go 120 here, you're not actually going to get any more rewards after 100. However, you also don't want to build up pity on this, because if you actually build up pity on this, there's actually a likelihood of, for example, you getting the talent card for a character that you don't really want because you were purely actually building up pity. So instead, rather than building up pity here, it's actually going to be better for you to build up pity in this section. Now, granted, there is still going to be a likelihood of that you getting one of those talent cards, but at least there's a few more choices here, so that even if it's not the character you want, there could still be one other character here that you could use the talent card for. So that's kind of the personal recommendation of where I would recommend you guys to actually build pity. Now, the other option is that obviously you can just wait for the character to eventually go into the standard pool before then something like that, because that will ensure that whenever you do get the talent card, you will be able to make sure you actually definitely have the character you want inside it already. The only thing with this is that this will only be added to the standard pool 2 weeks after the character is first released. So that basically means that if we consider, for some reason, Zone Murasakibara is for a 3-week banner as well, which is actually quite nice, because Zone Armenia was only for 2 weeks. But basically, what that means is that from when the character first get introduced, that will be 3 weeks for the banner. Then you have to wait for another 2 weeks for it to be added to the stand pool. So there will be a 5-week wait if you want to do it this way. But this way does allow you to actually make sure you have only the character's talent card that you actually want it for. Okay, so it's up to you which ones you guys want to do. For me personally, for example, I don't mind actually summoning on this because I already have Zone Kagami, so I definitely don't mind getting that talent card here, so I can actually build up pity here. And in fact, let me do that with you guys today, just so you know I'm not bullshitting you guys. This is exactly what I'll be doing. So I do have 19 tickets here because I am only planning to do 100 on Murasakibara. I haven't quite decided I want to commit to this yet, and I'll talk to you about that why in a bit. But let's just do 20 summons here, because even if I do 20 summons here, I would need to do 100 on this anyway. And in fact, now that I think about it, I only need to do 19 summons. I don't even need to do 20 because Obviously, it's nicer to do 20, but if I just do 19, that will give me exactly 20 pity, and then I'll need to do 100 exactly on this as well. So that's even going to be a better way, and I only have 19 tickets as well, so let's just do 19 now. I picked John Cockney as the rate up because even though I have him, it would be nice to get a dupe on him, obviously. Okay, so let's do a few more. So no luck there, just go one Izuki. Some red notebook, which is nice. I don't think I got any talent cards yet though, which is annoying. But it's fine, it is what it is. Bunch of lemons, so those are all quite useless. 15 notebook, that's not bad. Obviously I'm not gonna get that lucky and actually get a character here. But it is what it is. Okay, so now I'm at 20 out of 20 exactly. So if I actually do 100 on Murasakibara in the future, I will be able to hit this progression rewards exactly and don't waste any tickets at all. Okay, so that's basically how you can potentially build up pity on those kind of premium banners. Now, like I said, I do actually have 35 tickets for this as well. So I'm just going to do 3 multi here just to make it quick. And I didn't pick Generation Miracle because I feel like I don't need another Generation Miracle. Even if I get another character, I won't be able to actually train it up. Whereas if I actually get Himuro, he can actually work towards a bond with Zone Murasakibara if I want. The other reason why I also don't really care about getting Generation Miracle character. Oh, I'll get another 5. I can actually do 2 more 3 more multi with you guys. But the other reason why I don't really care about Generation Miracle is that if you actually pull 500 times, you will get another Generation Miracle anyway. So I personally feel like you can choose your rate up to be the Uncrowned Kings or Himuro instead. But okay, let's do a few more with you guys to see whether or not. Other than the reroll, oh, this is a brand new character for me. That's quite nice. Other than the reroll where I'll get obviously Kagami on the first multi, I have actually never got a character early. So let's do 10 more. Can we change that? Can we get character early? Okay, normal Kagami. 2 character, that's not bad. And it's just from awakening point of view. Okay, yep, no character early. But yeah, so that's going to be all of the summons. Okay, now let's talk about John Murasakibara. He's a very good center because just like Tenpin Kyoshi, he can also do a bit of playmaking. So his skill 1, which is basically just a normal dunking move, he actually have the ability to pass as well. And that basically makes him useful because someone has to jump for a dunk, right? The enemy center have to jump for a dunk. And if you then pass it over to someone else who would then also attack the basket immediately, the enemy center normally is not able to have enough time to jump back straight up to block your teammate as well. So that's kind of why he is definitely very good at offensively as a traditional center. And then on top of that, obviously, he has the solid rebounds and the block as well. In terms of talent priority, unfortunately, you can't actually go that cheap with him because you kind of need his block completely unlocked. You also need his rebound completely unlocked, and then you pretty much also need his zone to be completely unlocked. So just for him to be somewhat playable, well, not say playable, but let's say for him to be better than the base version of Murasakibara, I kind of consider you have to have at least unlock the last 3 tree branches, and then to make him on par with Tenpin Kyoshi from like a point guard point of view, you pretty much have to go up to here for his dunk and pass as well. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't actually think you can go that cheap with Zone Murasakibara. And then on the awakening front, similar kind of thing. You can he can definitely be played without any of those awakenings. But one thing which kind of stood out for me a bit is actually on Awakening 4, he will actually get an extra +5 speed. Now, +5 speed may not sound like much, but you have to put that into perspective of the fact that he's a traditional center and he's super slow, okay? If you actually take a look at his normal raw stats, it's only going to be 60 speed. So if you can actually get another +5 here, that's actually like equivalent to 8% increase in his running speed, which is actually massive if you actually think about it from that way. And especially, let's say, if you're actually facing up against enemy Tenpin Kyoshi, who may be trying to draw you outside of the paint, that +5 speed is actually going to be a massive determining factor in terms of whether or not you can defend Tenpin Kyoshi and also whether or not you can rush back to defend against the enemy dunk and layup as well. Okay, so I do actually think Awakening 4 is quite important for him, not from the skill point of view, but more just from this raw stats point of view. But obviously, if you don't have the resources, he can still be playable without any awakening. Okay, now in terms of how good he is, personally, I think he's on par with Tenpin Kyoshi. I wouldn't say he's better than Tenpin Kyoshi. Mainly because Tenpin Kyoshi still have that edge when it comes to kind of assisting defense because it's just so much faster and he can actually stretch out the paint and have more of a tactical value. But let's say if the enemy only concentrates on attacking the basket with dunks and layups, or all of the rebounds are not like bouncing off really far, then obviously Murasakibara is gonna be the clear winner under the paint. Okay, so for me, both of them are on the same tier. It's gonna be more down to team composition and the enemy formation in terms of deciding which one is going to be better. If the enemy is mainly going to do shots, then Tenpin Kyoshi will be better. If the enemy is mainly dunks and layup, then Murasakibara will be better. Okay, so that's going to be my source on him. Now, should you summon for him? Now, this is going to be a different question completely. So, first of all, I can tell you from my own perspective. Originally, I had planned for Murasakibara because I do think he is a very strong center, and also he actually have a lot of bond with other future last game characters as well. So I feel like he was quite good investment. But the problem is, I probably wouldn't be summoning him right now for two reasons. One is that even if I summon for him, I wouldn't have the ability to actually train him up, and that is just going to be the reality. Because normally, what I want to do is I want to actually reset my, let's say, Zhong Amine, so that I can get all of the talent card back for me to use for the next premium character. But the unfortunate thing is, in order for actually for you to reset this, you actually need this item, which you can only buy once every single month. And because Zhong Amine and Zhong Murasakibara both happen in the same month, unfortunately, I don't have this item anymore. So even if I get Zhong Murasakibara, which I can probably get roughly enough to actually summon for him, but I wouldn't be actually able to train him up. And then what's the point of actually getting current character if I can't train him up, right? So that's going to be the number one reason why I'm not going to summon for Murasakibara right now. If you're in similar shoes with me, just bear that in mind. Because as I showed you earlier, he's not actually that cheap for you to build. You actually need to unlock like 3 of his talent tree for him to be better, let's say, than the base version of Murasakibara. So that's kind of why I feel like it can be quite resource intensive to not just get him, but also train him up if you don't have the monthly reset card. Then the other reason, Global have patched it now, but if you guys have actually been checking out your character pages, you would have noticed there was actually another character that appeared in the same update, and that was T-Mac. Okay, Tracy McGrady was actually also in this patch. It was all written in Chinese skills, descriptions, etc. And so clearly he's not going to be out on Global immediately, but the fact that he is actually already in the files backend, that make me wonder whether or not he could be the next character after Murasakibara. And that is actually going to be tricky because I couldn't find the info on the Chinese server in terms of how Tracy McGrady would be released, what kind of like banner mechanism it is. But one picture or one screenshot I did find is that the tickets that you need to summon for him is different to the Generation Miracle tickets. It's also different to the Zone tickets as well. It's a brand new type of ticket, and that almost makes me wonder whether or not this is actually going to be a completely different pool, and therefore the pity wouldn't carry over. So if you do actually want to get T-Mac, you actually need to save enough for 120 summons off the bat in order to actually get him. And also he's a collab character, which basically means right now, at least on the JP and the Chinese server side, he has never rerun. I mean, granted, he hasn't been out for very long. He was only out on JP probably like 2 or 3 months ago. So there wasn't really any chance for a rerun anyway. But this is just something for you guys to bear in mind, because unlike other characters who, like we said earlier, would just be eventually added to the standard pool after about 5 weeks, T-Mac, those kind of NBA collab characters, they wouldn't be added to the standard pool. So if you actually want to get him, and also considering the fact that he may be using a completely different ticket type to this, what you may actually want to do is actually save up for enough for 120 summons off the bat to make sure you can actually guarantee those kind of limited collab character. So that's going to be the other reason why I would think very carefully before whether or not you actually want to commit for Murasakibara, especially if you're a free-to-play character. If you're a free-to-play player, it may actually be more worthwhile for you guys to save up for about 12k gems, just so that you can make sure you hit hard pity for T-Mac when he ever do drop on global. And because he's already in the files, we have no idea when that would be. Okay, so that's the kind of the reason why I'm personally not gonna summon for John Murasakibara right now. But yeah, that's gonna be my thoughts on him and also kind of the upcoming banners in general. Let me know what you guys think, and are you gonna summon for John Murasakibara?